Your aura is not some mystical ornament floating around you. It is the energetic signature of your mindset, your hunger, your belief, your discipline. And if that aura is weak, scattered, lazy, or afraid, then wealth will pass you like a stranger in the street. But when your aura is sharpened with purpose, fed with desire, backed by discipline, and supercharged with unshakable faith, it becomes a magnet so powerful that opportunities, connections, and money feel pulled toward you as if fate itself is bending in your direction. To build that aura, you must first decide exactly what you want, not vaguely, not softly, with ruthless precision. Wealth does not come to people who wish for it. It comes to people who demand it with clarity so strong it echoes. Then you must discipline your thoughts until they stop drifting toward weakness. Every doubt, every fear, every excuse weakens your field. Every decision, every action, every repetition of belief strengthens it. Train your aura daily by acting like a person of wealth long before the world sees it. Move with purpose, speak with confidence. Think in solutions, not struggles. The world doesn't reward the talented. It rewards the charged. When you walk into a room carrying a mind that refuses to break, carrying a vision that refuses to die, carrying a certainty that refuses to fade, your aura announces your future before you say a word. Wealth recognizes that signal. It gravitates toward it. It attaches to it. Because wealth is not random. It is attracted to the strongest energetic force in the environment. So build your aura into a magnet. Feed it with relentless desire. Strengthen it with disciplined thoughts. Protect it from fear. Charge it with faith. Act like the person you intend to become until the universe has no choice but to align with you. Your aura is your broadcast. Train it to pull wealth toward you with unstoppable power. Your inner energy sets the financial ceiling of your life because nothing in your external world can rise higher than the intensity, clarity, and discipline you carry within. People think wealth is about luck, timing, or connections, but those things only matter when your inner state is already powerful enough to use them. Without strong inner energy, opportunities don't feel like opportunities, they feel like noise. Without strong inner energy, discipline feels heavy, consistency feels boring, and vision feels impossible. But when your energy is charged, focused, and demanding more from life, everything around you begins to shift. You don't notice wealth because it suddenly appears. You notice wealth because you finally rise to the frequency where it already existed. And that shift begins inside you long before it shows up in your bank account. This energy is shaped by the thoughts you allow, the beliefs you repeat, the emotions you entertain, and the standards you live by. Weak standards create weak energy. Doubtful beliefs create doubtful actions. A scattered mind creates scattered results. Wealth is built by the ones who make no room for that weakness. You strengthen your inner energy by training it like a muscle, daily, intentionally, relentlessly. When your mind starts drifting into fear, you drag it back to faith. When your emotions start leaning toward defeat, you force them back toward certainty. When your habits begin slipping toward comfort, you pull them back into discipline. Every time you realign yourself, your energy expands. Every time you refuse weakness, your energy sharpens. Every time you choose purpose over distraction, your aura grows stronger and your financial ceiling stretches higher. Money responds to direction. It responds to clarity. It responds to the person who knows where they're going and acts like it every single day, even when nothing has manifested yet. This is why people with powerful inner energy often seem lucky to others. They're not lucky, they're aligned. Their energy is so committed, so certain, so intentional, that opportunities naturally attach to them. They don't chase money in desperation. They move with the aura of someone who expects success. That expectation alters how they speak, how they walk, how they negotiate, how they solve problems, how they take risks. That energy becomes a signal the world cannot ignore, and wealth gravitates toward that signal the way metal rushes toward a magnet. If you want your financial life to elevate, your energy must become too strong to be ignored. You must set a vision that scares your comfort but excites your future. You must build habits that reinforce your belief instead of killing it. You must think thoughts that multiply your power, not thoughts that shrink your ambition. You must choose discipline over distraction, because every distraction is a leak in your energetic field. You must protect your mind from negativity as if your future depends on it, because it does. That inner protection, that internal sharpening, that refusal to let your mind weaken is what creates the energetic force that wealth responds to. Your inner energy becomes magnetic when you stop negotiating with your excuses. Wealth requires a level of certainty that most people never build because they keep feeding their fears. They imagine failure more than success. They repeat limitations more than possibilities. They speak weakness into existence and then wonder why their life looks ordinary. But when you flip that script, when you begin imagining your success in detail, when you talk like you're rising, when you behave like your goals are already yours, your energy shifts from passive to dominant. And dominant energy is what pulls wealth, opportunities, and breakthroughs toward you. This energy does not come from hype or temporary motivation. It comes from daily alignment. Thoughts synchronized with goals, emotions synchronized with belief, habits synchronized with vision, action synchronized with purpose. When you maintain that alignment, your aura becomes a force that bends circumstances instead of being shaped by them. People feel that energy when you walk into a room. They trust your confidence. They respect your certainty. They align with your vision. They want to work with you, invest in you, follow you, or hand you the opportunities others were too uncertain to claim. That is how inner energy expands your financial reality, by turning you into someone impossible to overlook. Your financial ceiling expands every time you upgrade your mindset, every time you strengthen your beliefs, every time you enforce discipline, every time you kill doubt before it kills your momentum. The world doesn't give money to the most talented. It rewards the most energetically aligned, the most committed, the most unshakable. If your energy is powerful enough, your future has no choice but to rise to meet it. Wealth is not a mystery, it's a mirror. It reflects the quality of the energy you carry. Strengthen that energy, and your life will stretch far beyond anything you've seen before. Wealth responds to clarity, not confusion, because money has no interest in people who move without direction, purpose, or certainty. Confusion is the enemy of progress. It kills your momentum, it slows your decisions, and it blinds you to opportunities already standing in front of you. When your mind is scattered, your results are scattered. When your goals are vague, your actions become weak. When your purpose is blurry, your motivation becomes inconsistent. Wealth cannot flow into a life built on hesitation and half decisions. It moves toward the individual who knows exactly what they want, why they want it, and what they are willing to do to get it. Clarity is power. Clarity is direction. Clarity is the internal command that aligns your thoughts, behaviors, choices, and habits toward a single outcome with unstoppable force. Most people stay broke not because they lack talent, but because they lack clarity. They wake up with no defined mission. They drift through their days reacting instead of creating, and they let every distraction pull them into mental fog. You cannot build wealth while living in fog. Fog blocks vision, and without vision, you cannot take precise action. When you clarify your goals down to the smallest detail, the income you want, the impact you want to create, the skills you must master, the habits you must adopt, the environment you must enter, your mind becomes a weapon. It cuts through distractions. It rejects excuses. It sees opportunities where others see nothing but noise. Clarity transforms you from a wanderer into a hunter, and hunters get results. Clarity gives you speed. When you know exactly what matters and what doesn't, decisions become simple. You stop wasting energy on things that don't move your mission forward. You stop chasing every shiny idea. You stop entertaining doubts that lead nowhere. Instead, you commit fully to a path, sharpening your focus until your actions become straight-line movement toward wealth. Confusion, on the other hand, drains your power. It makes you overthink instead of execute. It makes you question yourself instead of trust your instincts. It makes you delay decisions until opportunities disappear. The person who hesitates loses the very wealth the person of clarity gains. Wealth is attracted to people who operate with clean intention. When you walk into a room with a clear vision, people feel it. They sense your purpose. They sense your conviction. They sense that you know where you're going and that you're not asking the world for permission. Investors trust clarity. Customers trust clarity. Collaborators trust clarity. But confusion repels trust, and without trust, you have no leverage, no influence, and no opportunity. Your clarity becomes your currency long before money arrives because people follow those who are certain. Clarity also eliminates emotional chaos. When you know your direction, your emotions obey your mission instead of hijacking it. You stop panicking when something goes wrong because you're too focused on the objective to entertain fear. You stop getting discouraged by slow progress because you know slow progress in the right direction is still progress. You stop comparing yourself to others because their path is irrelevant to your target. Clarity stabilizes your inner world, and a stable inner world is the foundation of every wealthy person you admire. Without clarity, your emotions control you. With clarity, you control your destiny. To create clarity, you must strip away everything that is not aligned with the life you want. That means eliminating goals you don't truly care about. It means shutting down distractions that drain your momentum. It means getting brutally honest with yourself about what you want your future to look like, and then committing to it without negotiation. Your environment, your habits, your circle, your daily routine, all of these must be shaped around your mission. Clarity demands sacrifice. Confusion demands nothing and gives nothing. When you become clear, your subconscious begins aligning your behavior automatically. You start noticing opportunities you previously ignored. You start connecting dots you never saw before. You start taking actions that move you forward, even when you're not consciously trying. That is the power of clarity. It programs your mind for success, the way a magnet organizes metal filings. Everything in your life begins rearranging itself to support the direction you've chosen. Most people fear clarity because clarity forces responsibility. When you know exactly what you want, you can no longer hide behind excuses. You can no longer blame circumstances. You can no longer pretend you're lost. Clarity removes the illusion of confusion and exposes the truth. Either you act or you don't. Either you commit or you don't. Either you build the life you envision or you settle for the one you've been handed. And that level of accountability scares people, but it liberates the ones who are ready for greatness. Wealth responds to the individual who stands up with a mind freed from noise, a vision carved in stone, and a direction so clear that nothing can shake it. Be that individual. Strip your goals down to their essence. Define what you want with precision. Make decisions that align with your mission. And move with the certainty of someone who already sees the finish line. When you operate with clarity, wealth has no choice but to rise to meet you. A disciplined mind becomes a wealth-attracting force because discipline is the mental engine that turns desire into action, action into consistency, and consistency into results. Without discipline, the strongest ambition dies. Without discipline, the clearest vision collapses. Without discipline, wealth remains nothing but a fantasy floating in your imagination. Discipline is the line that separates people who talk about success from the ones who live it. It is the internal command that forces you to act even when you're tired, to focus even when you're distracted, to push forward even when your emotions scream for comfort. A disciplined mind does not wait for motivation. It creates motion. It does not beg for opportunities. It becomes prepared enough to deserve them. Discipline is the signal that wealth recognizes, respects, and gravitates toward. Every wealthy individual, every high achiever, every dominant performer has one common trait. Their mind does not negotiate with weakness. They do not allow laziness to run the show. They do not let excuses exist. They do not let emotions dictate their actions. Their mind is trained like a warrior, sharp, controlled, and relentlessly committed. This level of discipline creates an energy field that money cannot ignore. When you repeatedly show the universe that you can be trusted to act, persist, and execute regardless of circumstances, you build an aura of reliability. Wealth flows to people who can be trusted with responsibility. Money is not attracted to chaos, it is attracted to order, structure, stability, and consistency. Discipline builds all of that. A disciplined mind is dangerous because it sees through distractions. It refuses to waste time on activities that dilute focus. It rejects the temporary comforts that steal long-term rewards. In a world where everyone is numbing themselves with entertainment, noise, comparison, gossip, and endless consumption, the disciplined mind stands apart because it sees what others don't. Distractions are the silent thieves of wealth. Every minute lost to distraction is a withdrawal from your future. Every hour spent on meaningless activities weakens your advantage. Discipline is the filter that protects your focus, and focus is the currency that builds empires. When your mind is disciplined, your habits shift automatically. You wake up earlier because your goals matter more than another hour of sleep. You learn new skills because you know competency creates opportunity. You manage your money because you understand that wealth grows through intentional stewardship. You surround yourself with high-value people because you recognize that environment shapes identity. Discipline becomes your internal GPS, guiding your behavior without you needing to constantly force it. And when your habits align with your vision, wealth begins aligning with your life. It's not magic, it's mathematics. Discipline increases productivity. Productivity increases output. Output increases opportunity. Opportunity increases income. This chain reaction is unstoppable. Once discipline becomes your default state, a disciplined mind also has an unbreakable relationship with consistency. Anyone can take action once. Anyone can feel motivated for a day. Anyone can set goals when emotions are high. But wealth is attracted to the person who shows up day after day, long after the excitement fades. Consistency compounds. It builds momentum. It creates mastery. It generates results that randomness can never achieve. Discipline is the root of this consistency. It forces you to keep building even when progress feels invisible, even when results aren't immediate, even when the journey feels heavier than expected. And ironically, that consistency becomes the very force that makes your path easier over time. Discipline is also the destroyer of doubt. When you train your mind to act regardless of fear, fear loses its influence over your life. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they allow doubt to paralyze them. A disciplined mind moves even when it's uncertain. It acts even when it's afraid. It takes risks not recklessly but confidently, because discipline builds a foundation of preparation. When you consistently study, practice, and refine your skills, you become competent. Competence breeds confidence, and confidence draws wealth like a magnet. Doubt repels, discipline attracts. People can feel discipline. They can sense it in the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, the way you deliver your work. Discipline creates an aura of strength, a presence that commands respect. Opportunities flow to people who operate with this internal strength because decision-makers trust them, customers trust them, employers trust them, partners trust them. Discipline communicates reliability without you having to say a single word. It is the silent signal that you are someone who follows through, someone who delivers, someone who is worth investing in. A disciplined mind is also deeply intentional. Every thought, every action, every decision is measured against your ultimate purpose. You stop living reactively and start living strategically. You stop drifting and start directing your life with force. You stop accepting whatever life gives you and start demanding what you want. This intentionality multiplies your power because it ensures every piece of your energy is invested, not wasted. A disciplined mind becomes a wealth-attracting force because discipline transforms you into the kind of person wealth is drawn to: focused, reliable, prepared, committed, consistent, and mentally unshakable. When you become disciplined, you stop chasing success and start creating the conditions where success chases you. Discipline is not just a habit, it is a transformation. It is the evolution of your identity from someone controlled by impulses to someone driven by purpose. Once your mind reaches that level, wealth cannot stay away. It becomes a natural consequence of who you've become. Desire without action is dead. Act with purpose, because wanting something means nothing if you never move toward it. Desire is the spark, but action is the engine that pushes that spark into reality. Too many people drown in dreams. They fantasize about success, imagine wealth, talk about goals, and convince themselves that ambition alone makes them worthy. But desire is worthless when it's not backed by movement. The world does not pay you for wanting. It pays you for producing. It pays you for creating. It pays you for executing. Desire lights the fire, but action keeps it alive. Without action, your dreams become nothing more than comforting illusions that protect you from facing your own lack of discipline. When you act with purpose, every move becomes a tool for transformation. You stop wasting energy on random tasks and start channeling every ounce of effort toward the future you want to build. Purpose turns action into power. It gives your steps direction. It gives your habits meaning. It gives your sacrifices a target. Purpose ensures that everything you do pushes you upward, not sideways or backward. It removes the noise and leaves only the mission. When you have purpose, you are not easily distracted. You are not easily discouraged. You are not easily shaken. Your actions become intentional, strategic, and aligned with a vision bigger than your excuses. Desire is emotional. Purpose is structural. Desire makes you dream. Purpose forces you to build. Desire can fade. Purpose creates discipline that lasts. This is why so many people give up when life gets heavy. Their desire was strong, but their purpose was weak. They wanted success, but they didn't anchor it to action. They didn't make the decision to do the work even on the days they didn't feel like it. They let emotions decide their pace, and emotions are unreliable. A purposeful person, however, understands that success is the result of repeated action, not fluctuating feelings. They act whether they're inspired or not. They move whether they're comfortable or not. They push whether they're ready or not. That mindset is what separates achievers from dreamers. Action creates clarity. You discover what works only when you're in motion. You learn your strengths, expose your weaknesses, and refine your strategy by doing, not by thinking. People who sit still waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence, or the perfect opportunity end up watching their life pass by with nothing to show for their desire. Action is what creates momentum, and momentum is what builds success. When you move, even imperfectly, you generate force. That force compounds. It opens doors. It attracts opportunities. It sharpens your mind. It teaches you lessons no book or motivational speech could ever give you. Action is the teacher that desire alone will never provide. Purposeful action also builds identity. Every time you take the step you promised yourself, you strengthen your self-belief. You become someone who follows through. You become someone who trusts their own commitment. You become someone who knows their actions shape their destiny. This identity becomes magnetic. It changes how you think, how you see yourself, and how others see you. Wealth responds to this identity. Opportunities respond to this identity. Discipline becomes easier because you're no longer trying to become the person you want to be. You are living as that person through repeated action. Desire alone keeps you stuck in your head. You imagine greatness but stay in the same routine. You talk about change but never change your behavior. You repeat the same days expecting different results. This is the death cycle of those who rely on desire without execution. Purposeful action breaks that cycle. It forces you out of mental fantasy and into real-world creation. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a declaration, I am building something. This declaration creates a new future, one brick at a time. When you act with purpose, you stop needing external motivation. You become internally driven. You wake up with direction instead of confusion. You measure your progress in actions, not wishes. You stop being impressed by the goals you talk about and start being impressed by the work you actually do. Acting with purpose shifts the entire architecture of your life. You stop reacting and start constructing. You stop drifting and start deciding. You stop wishing and start earning. Purpose gives you the stamina to endure the hard days. When you know why you're moving, you don't collapse when obstacles show up. You don't quit when results are slow. You don't break when the journey tests you. You press forward because your purpose is bigger than the discomfort. This resilience is what keeps you ahead of the ones who rely only on desire. They get tired and quit. You get tired and keep going. They get discouraged and stop. You get discouraged and adapt. Purpose turns you into a force that cannot be stopped, only strengthened. Desire without action is dead because desire cannot transform anything by itself. It cannot build wealth. It cannot create freedom. It cannot elevate your life. You can desire success for decades and still remain stagnant. But when desire is fused with purposeful action, your life begins to shift. You become dangerous, the kind of person who dreams big and then backs it up with relentless effort, the kind of person who turns intentions into outcomes, the kind of person who proves through action that they deserve the success they envision. Act with purpose. Move with intention. Let your actions speak louder than your desires. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward what you wish for, it rewards what you work for. Your daily habits broadcast your future because every repeated action is a message sent to your destiny. A signal announcing who you are becoming long before the world sees the results. People look at outcomes and call them luck, fate, or chance, but outcomes are simply the echo of habits practiced in silence. Your habits reveal your standards. They reveal your discipline. They reveal your priorities. They reveal the truth about your future far more accurately than your dreams, your goals, or your words ever could. If your habits are weak, your future will be weak. If your habits are powerful, your future will be powerful. It's that simple, that brutal, and that unavoidable. Your habits are the architects of your identity. Every small choice you make, from how you wake up to how you work, to how you treat time, to how you handle stress, to how you invest your attention, shapes the blueprint of the person you are building. You cannot claim you want wealth while practicing the habits of someone destined for mediocrity. You cannot talk about greatness while living in patterns built on laziness, distraction, inconsistency, and emotional reactions. Your daily habits tell the truth even when your words lie. They expose your real commitment. They expose your real focus. They expose whether your ambition is genuine or just entertainment. Look at your habits and you will see your future staring back at you. If you wake up with purpose, you are broadcasting a future of momentum. If you wake up reacting to life, scrolling, drifting, wasting time, you are broadcasting a future of stagnation. If you invest time learning, practicing, building, and improving, you are sending a clear signal that success is inevitable. If you numb yourself with noise, comfort, and instant gratification, you are carving a path toward frustration and regret. Your habits always win. They always overpower your intentions. They always dictate your trajectory, whether you realize it or not. Your habits also shape your mindset. The way you repeatedly behave becomes the way you repeatedly think. If you constantly avoid hard tasks, your mind becomes trained to escape discomfort. If you constantly choose discipline, your mind becomes trained to confront challenges with strength. If you consistently execute, your mind becomes trained to believe in your capability. That belief compounds. That confidence builds. Soon, your entire identity is elevated because your habits programmed your mind to operate at a higher frequency. This is why disciplined people rise faster. Their habits hardwire them for success. Every habit is an investment. You're either investing in your future or stealing from it. A good habit compounds like interest. Small at first, invisible at first, but unstoppable over time. A bad habit decays like rot. Small at first, invisible at first, but destructive over time. People underestimate the power of repetition because they look for big dramatic changes, not realizing greatness is built from boring consistency. Show me what a person does daily, and I'll predict exactly where they'll end up. Not next week, not next month, but in the years to come, because time magnifies habits the same way it magnifies money. Successful people aren't born different. They build different habits. They don't leave their future to hope. They design their days with intention. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. They don't allow mood to determine action. They let action reshape mood. They don't chase shortcuts. They master fundamentals. And the fundamentals are all habits: reading, studying, executing, evaluating, improving, planning, and repeating. These habits create momentum, and momentum creates opportunity. Your habits also determine the people you attract. High-value individuals gravitate toward others who live with structure, discipline, and ambition. If your habits radiate mediocrity, lateness, inconsistency, excuses, laziness, you attract people who accept those same behaviors. Your circle becomes a mirror of your habits, and your environment either multiplies your progress or destroys it. Surround yourself with people whose habits match the future you want, not the past you're trying to escape. Every habit you repeat is casting a vote for the identity you're stepping into. If you want wealth, your habits must match the habits of the wealthy. Studying money, managing it well, expanding your skills, staying consistent, staying disciplined, staying hungry. If you want freedom, your habits must reflect someone who values time and uses it wisely. If you want confidence, your habits must reinforce self-respect and self-belief. It is impossible to build a powerful future while living through powerless habits. Changing your habits isn't about intensity, it's about identity. You don't force yourself to act like the best version of you. You become that version through repetition. You choose the habit once, then again, until it becomes who you are. Discipline becomes natural. Focus becomes normal, growth becomes your default setting, and when that transformation happens, your future shifts automatically because your habits have rewritten your destiny from the inside out. Your daily habits broadcast your future because habits are louder than dreams, louder than passion, louder than motivation. Habits are what decide whether your life rises or collapses. If you want to change your future, don't start with goals, start with habits. Change what you do daily, and your future cannot stay the same. Make your habits reflect your ambition, not your comfort. Build routines that match the level of success you expect. Your future is listening to every action you take. Make sure it hears the message of someone who is destined to rise. Faith in your own power creates unstoppable momentum, because once you believe you are capable, everything inside you begins moving with a force far greater than effort alone. Faith is the ignition of all achievement, the internal fire that transforms hesitation into action, action into consistency, and consistency into results. When you possess unshakable belief in yourself, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You stop waiting for someone to validate your potential. Instead, you rise, you move, you decide, and you push. Faith removes the brakes from your ambition and unleashes a level of drive that people without belief will never experience. Most people fail before they ever begin because they quit at the level of thought. They doubt their ability. They question their worth. They fear mistakes, and they let the opinions of others shape their identity. Doubt kills dreams long before difficulty does. But when you carry faith in your own power, doubt becomes too weak to control you. It can whisper, but it cannot command. It can appear, but it cannot direct. Your belief becomes the shield that deflects fear and the engine that carries you through resistance. Faith gives you the courage to take the first step, the strength to take the next one, and the resilience to keep walking when the path gets heavy. Faith in your power builds momentum because momentum begins inside the mind long before it shows up in your life. When you truly believe you can achieve something, you start acting like the type of person who achieves it. Your decisions become bolder. Your actions become sharper. Your standards rise. Your habits shift. Your attitude hardens into determination. Suddenly, everything you do is aligned with the person you intend to become. That internal alignment creates momentum, and momentum is what topples every obstacle in your way. Belief fuels discipline. When you believe you are capable of reaching a goal, you commit to the work required. You show up even when you're tired because you know the effort is not wasted. You stay focused because you trust the process. You remain patient because you believe progress is building even when it's not yet visible. Without belief, discipline collapses. With belief, discipline becomes automatic. You no longer debate whether you should act. You simply do what must be done because you know the outcome is yours to claim. Faith in your power also expands your creativity. A fearful mind closes. A confident mind opens. Fear limits you to the safest options, the smallest steps, the most predictable outcomes. Faith pushes you into innovation, risk-taking, and problem-solving. When you trust yourself, you allow your mind to search for solutions instead of excuses. You see possibilities where others see barriers. You find strategies where others find reasons to quit. This mental flexibility creates opportunities that doubt-filled people never discover. Your faith in yourself becomes a magnetic force. People can feel it. They sense when you walk with conviction, when you speak with certainty, when you move with inner authority. Confidence attracts support, respect, and opportunity. It draws the right people into your circle. It makes doors open that would otherwise stay locked. The world responds differently to someone who truly believes in themselves. You stop chasing approval and start commanding space. You stop begging for chances and start creating them. Momentum becomes unstoppable when faith and action merge. Belief without action is fantasy. Action without belief is struggle. But belief fused with action becomes a force that compounds. Every step reinforces your confidence. Every small victory strengthens your mindset. Every challenge you overcome becomes proof that you are more powerful than your fears. Soon your progress accelerates, your vision expands, and your potential rises to a level you never imagined before. Faith in your own power also protects you from external noise. The world is full of people who will project their limitations onto you. They will call you unrealistic, too ambitious, too intense, too hopeful. But faith turns their doubt into background noise. When you believe deeply in your own strength, their opinions become irrelevant. You stop measuring your potential by their expectations. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop slowing down to match the pace of those who aren't going anywhere. Faith frees you from the gravitational pull of the average. The greatest momentum comes from persistence, and persistence is only possible when you believe the effort is worth it. When challenges hit, and they always do, faith is the reason you keep going. Faith is the reason you adapt. Faith is the reason you stay committed even when the results are delayed. Most people collapse when things get difficult because they never believe deeply enough in themselves to push through the storm. But the one who carries faith sees difficulty as part of the path, not the signal to quit. Faith in your own power creates unstoppable momentum because it transforms your mindset, strengthens your discipline, sharpens your decisions, elevates your identity, and fuels your resilience. The moment you decide to believe in yourself without negotiation, you trigger a chain reaction that alters your entire future. You start moving like someone destined to win. You start thinking like someone built for greatness. You start acting like someone who refuses to settle for anything less than the life they envision. Believe in your power fully, without hesitation. Stand in that belief boldly. Move in that belief consistently. Let it guide your actions, shape your habits, and fuel your journey. When your faith becomes unshakable, your momentum becomes unstoppable, and the world is forced to make room for the person you are becoming. Fear repels wealth. Conviction pulls it toward you, and the moment you understand this truth, you stop treating fear as an emotion and start seeing it as a barrier standing between you and everything you say you want. Fear is the invisible wall that keeps most people broke, hesitant, and trapped in cycles of hesitation. It whispers lies, magnifies imaginary dangers, and convinces you that staying still is safer than moving forward. But the truth is brutally simple. Every time you hesitate, someone else acts. Every time you shrink, someone else rises. Every time you choose fear, you forfeit the opportunities that could have changed your life. Wealth is never drawn to a shaky spirit. It is pulled by a mind that stands firm, certain, and bold enough to claim what it wants without apology or delay. Conviction is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not emotional. Conviction is quiet power, the kind you feel in your core when your purpose becomes stronger than your excuses. It's the inner steel that makes you persist when others quit, the inner fire that makes you invest when others doubt, the inner certainty that turns long nights, failures, lessons, and setbacks into fuel instead of reasons to stop. Wealth recognizes conviction the way a compass recognizes north. It gravitates toward those who know exactly what they want and refuse to negotiate with weakness. When you operate with conviction, your decisions become sharp, your energy becomes magnetic, and your actions become consistent. That consistency is what compounds. That consistency is what builds momentum. That momentum is what pulls wealth toward you with the force of inevitability. Fear is a thief that works silently. It steals time by making you overthink. It steals courage by making you imagine worse outcomes than reality. It steals opportunities by convincing you that you're not ready. And the painful truth, most people spend their entire lives giving fear the keys to run their future. They wait for confidence before they act, not understanding that confidence is earned only through acting while afraid. Fear wants you passive. Conviction demands you active. Fear drains your power. Conviction multiplies it. Fear keeps you broke. Conviction builds your fortune. You cannot serve both. You must choose who governs your mind, your decisions, your actions, and your destiny. Conviction begins with deciding that your future is bigger than your fears. It starts when you refuse to let a single doubt sit in your mind without challenging it. It grows every time you act, even when you're trembling inside. And with each action, something powerful happens. Fear loses its authority over you. It shrinks, weakens, dissolves. You stop seeing the world as a battlefield and start seeing it as a field of opportunity. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your energy changes. People feel it, opportunities feel it, wealth feels it. You become the person who moves with intention, who speaks with purpose, who acts without hesitation. That energy is rare. That energy is magnetic. That energy is what builds empires. Fear survives only in minds that refuse to move. The moment you step forward, even a single step, fear begins to die. And as fear dies, your conviction awakens. You start building habits that align with your goals instead of your insecurities. You start making decisions based on your vision instead of your past. You stop explaining yourself to people who think small. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop playing the safe game and start playing the growth game. And as you rise, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust yourself more than your doubts. That trust becomes a force. That force becomes momentum. That momentum becomes wealth. Life responds to conviction because conviction creates movement, and movement creates opportunity. Wealth is attracted to people who are in motion, building, learning, striving, adapting, and refusing to back down. Wealth avoids people who are frozen, passive, indecisive, or controlled by fear. If you want wealth to move toward you, you must first prove that you are willing to move toward it with certainty, intention, and unwavering belief in your own capability. That belief is not blind. It is built through discipline, action, and persistence. Every time you move forward, you reinforce the belief. Every time you overcome doubt, you strengthen it. Every time you get up after failing, you fortify it. Fear might show up, but it has no power unless you obey it. Conviction might be challenged, but it becomes stronger every time you defend it. You become unstoppable not when fear disappears, but when you stop letting it dictate your life. You become wealthy not when all obstacles vanish, but when you refuse to let them intimidate you. Fear repels wealth. Conviction pulls it toward you. And your job from this moment forward is brutally simple. Stop feeding fear and start feeding conviction. Act with purpose. Move with certainty. Speak with intention, and watch how quickly life begins to bend in your favor. Persistence bends reality in your favor because life itself eventually yields to the person who refuses to stop pushing. Every breakthrough you've ever admired was born from someone who kept going long after others quit. Someone who understood that consistency is more powerful than talent, more reliable than luck, and more valuable than intelligence. Persistence is the great equalizer, the force that transforms ordinary people into unstoppable achievers. When you persist with absolute obsession, you train reality to respond to your will. You teach your mind to stretch. You teach your spirit to endure. You teach the universe that you are not here to participate casually. You are here to dominate your lane, break your limits, and claim what is yours. Persistence is not a personality trait. It is a decision you renew every single day. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they stop too early. They quit when the journey gets uncomfortable, when progress slows, when results don't show up instantly, or when obstacles become intimidating. But the truth is simple. Reality tests every dream. It pushes you to check if you are serious, if you are committed, if you are prepared to suffer for what you say you want. And every test has one purpose: to see if you'll persist. When you pass that test, reality opens the doors that were closed before. It reveals opportunities that you couldn't see when you were standing still. It shows you strengths you didn't know you had. Persistence unlocks pathways that talent alone can never reach. Persistence is the weapon that destroys doubt. The more you act, the less room your fears have to breathe. Every repeated effort silences the voice that tells you to give up. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you gain a new level of control over your mind. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop treating your goals like suggestions. You start treating them like obligations. Persistence wires discipline into your identity. It shapes your character into something unbreakable. And when you become unbreakable, life bends. People admire persistence from a distance, but they don't understand the internal war it requires. It demands patience in a world addicted to instant gratification. It demands belief when no evidence supports you. It demands effort on the days your motivation dies. It demands courage when the path ahead becomes uncertain. Persistence means showing up after failure, not because you're guaranteed success, but because quitting is no longer an option you entertain. It means pushing through resistance until resistance becomes your training ground. You do not wait for conditions to improve. You improve yourself to match the conditions. That shift, that mindset, is what separates those who talk from those who triumph. Persistence transforms pressure into progress. Every challenge becomes a lesson that sharpens you. Every delay becomes a chance to build endurance. Every mistake becomes data you use to adjust your strategy. You begin to see obstacles not as signs to stop, but as indicators that you're moving in the right direction. You start to understand that resistance means growth is happening. Nothing meaningful in life comes without friction. But the ones who persist learn to use friction as momentum. They learn to convert setbacks into breakthroughs. They learn to stay long enough for the compound effect to take over, and once it does, results accelerate with shocking speed. Persistence also builds a reputation. When you keep showing up, people begin to trust you. Partners, clients, mentors, investors, even competitors. Doors open for the consistent. Support gravitates toward the resilient. Opportunities appear for the relentless, but when you quit easily, life treats you as unreliable. You lose momentum, credibility, and potential. Persistence teaches the world that you are serious about your rise, and once the world believes you are serious, it begins to respond accordingly. Inside your mind, something powerful happens. When you persist, you start believing that anything is possible for you. Self-trust expands. Confidence grows. Your tolerance for discomfort increases. You stop being fragile, emotional,